She pulls away not because she feels nothing, but because she feels too much of the wrong thing. She feels your effort. She feels the immense weight of your intention, the calculated planning behind your words, the subtle plea for validation hidden in your gaze. You believe attraction is built, brick by brick, with logic, kindness, and proof of worth. So you offer these things, laying them at her feet like gifts, waiting for her to finally see your value. But what you perceive as a gesture of connection, she perceives as pressure. It's an unspoken negotiation where you are trying to convince her to desire you, and this very act of convincing is the most unattractive thing a man can do. Her silence isn't a void, it's a response. It's the wall that rises naturally when she feels the energy of a man trying to get something from her, rather than the energy of a man who is already whole without her. If this silence feels familiar, if her distance has ever felt like a quiet judgment on your worth, then you understand the core of this problem. Subscribe to this channel, like the video, and share your thoughts below, because what we are about to uncover is not a technique, but a fundamental shift in your entire reality. You operate under a dangerous illusion, the belief that she is a lock and you just need to find the right key. You rehearse conversations, you craft the perfect text, you strategize your next move as if desire were a game of chess. But a woman's heart is not a logical puzzle to be solved. It is a primal force that responds not to what you say or do, but to the unshakable truth of who you are. Your mistake is trying to be the perfect actor in her story, when what she craves is the unmovable author of your own. You see her, and your instinct screams at you to move, to speak, to bridge the gap. This is the hunter's impulse, the deep-seated belief that you must pursue what you want. But this is the lie that keeps you trapped in a cycle of frustration. The most powerful move you can make is stillness. True attraction is not about closing the distance between you and her, it's about closing the distance between you and yourself. She is not subconsciously looking for the man who is looking at her. She is looking for the man who is so deeply engaged in his own world, his own purpose, that his presence creates its own gravity. Your need to be seen is precisely what makes you blend into the background. You become just another wave crashing against her shore, when you could be the moon that silently, effortlessly pulls her tide. Think of her emotional storms, her moments of distance or uncertainty. Your immediate reaction is to fix it. You lean in, you ask questions, you offer solutions, trying to manage her feelings as if they were a crisis to be solved. You become a boat tossed on the waves of her emotional sea, and in that moment, you communicate the most devastating truth, that your own stability is dependent on her. She cannot feel safe with a man whose peace is so easily disrupted. She isn't drawn to the man who can calm her storm. She is drawn to the lighthouse that stands firm within it, the unwavering light that proves her chaos has no power over his core. Every time you chase her to close a gap, you are silently telling her that you need her more than you need yourself, and that is where you lose. When she goes quiet, your entire world tilts on its axis. The silence is not empty. It's a thick, suffocating fog that rolls in and obscures everything. You feel it in your gut first, a cold, dropping sensation that signals a loss of control. Your mind immediately begins to race, replaying every last interaction, every word, every text, searching for the mistake you must have made. This is the lie taking root, the belief that her silence is a verdict, a final judgment on your worthiness. You interpret her distance as a direct and personal rejection, a sign that the interest she once showed has evaporated. This belief turns you from a man into a detective, desperately searching for clues to a crime you're certain you committed, when in reality no crime has taken place. Her retreat is not about you, it's about the space she needs to feel her own desire again, a desire your pressure has inadvertently smothered. This desperate search for answers is fueled by the most dangerous illusion a man can hold, the belief that a woman's interest is a fragile flame that he is solely responsible for keeping alive. You see it flicker, you feel the warmth recede, and you panic. Your instinct conditioned by a lifetime of bad advice, screams at you to add more fuel, more texts, more attention, more proof of your value. You believe that if you can just show her one more interesting side of yourself, or make her laugh one more time, or offer one more gesture of support, you can coax the flame back to life. But you fail to understand the nature of this fire. It is not fed by effort, it is fed by presence. Your frantic attempts to keep it from dying are like blowing on a fragile ember with the force of a hurricane. You are not nurturing the flame, you are extinguishing it with the sheer force of your need. You have seen this pattern before, haven't you? The moment you feel her pull away, you lean in twice as hard. You send the follow-up text, the casual just checking in, which is anything but casual. That second message is not a question, it's a plea. It's a desperate request for reassurance, a demand that she soothe the anxiety her silence has created in you. In that single act, you communicate everything she fears, that your emotional stability is dependent on her, that her attention is your oxygen, and that without it, you begin to suffocate. This behavior, which you mistake for caring, is perceived by her as a profound weakness. It shows her that you are not the rock, but another wave in her already chaotic ocean. She cannot lean on a man who is already leaning on her for his sense of self-worth. Here is the truth that will dismantle this entire painful cycle. Her withdrawal is not a measure of her interest in you. It is a subconscious test of your interest in yourself. When she steps back, she is creating a vacuum to see what you will fill it with. Will you fill it with panic, anxiety, and a desperate chase to bring her back? Or will you fill it with your own life, your own purpose, your own unshakable sense of direction? She is not looking to see how much you want her. She is looking to see what you are without her. Her silence is a mirror, and what it reflects back to her is not her own fading interest, but the raw, unfiltered state of your inner world. Every time you react with neediness, you fail the test. You prove that your center of gravity is not within you, but is located wherever she happens to be standing. The man who understands this dynamic does the one thing that feels completely counterintuitive. He does nothing. He notices her distance. He acknowledges it without judgment, and he lets it be. He does not see it as a problem to be solved, but simply as weather a passing storm in her emotional sky that has no bearing on the mountain that is his own sense of self. His focus remains locked on his path, his work, his passions. He continues to build his own world, not as a performance to win her back, but because that is who he is. His energy does not flow outward in a desperate attempt to retrieve her. It continues to radiate from his core, a steady, unwavering source of warmth and light. He communicates through his inaction that his peace is non-negotiable and his world continues to turn, with or without her immediate presence. This stillness is what creates the magnetic pull you have been trying to manufacture with effort. When you do not chase, you create a profound and unsettling curiosity in her mind. She expects you to react, as every other man has, with a frantic attempt to close the gap. When you don't, you break the pattern. You instantly separate yourself from the rest. She is forced to turn around and look at you, not as the pursuer, but as the source of an unshakable calm she cannot understand. You stop being the salesman pleading for her attention and become the art gallery she feels an inexplicable urge to enter. Your lack of reaction becomes the most powerful action of all, proving that you are not a man who needs her validation to feel whole. And a man who is already whole is the only man she can truly, deeply desire. You must understand that her emotional system is a finely tuned instrument designed over millennia to detect one thing above all else: emotional pressure. When she pulls away, it is not a conscious decision to hurt you, but an instinctive, biological recoil from the weight of your intention. She feels your need for a specific outcome, for her affection, for her validation, for her response as a subtle threat to her own emotional autonomy. Her retreat is a form of self-preservation. It's an unconscious immune response firing off, not against you as a person, but against the energy of a man who is trying to get something from her. She doesn't feel desired, she feels targeted. And this feeling triggers an ancient, non-negotiable impulse to create distance, to find clean air where she can breathe without the suffocating expectation of having to feel something she doesn't yet feel naturally. This withdrawal is not a game, but it is a test. It's the most important test you will ever face, and it isn't one she creates consciously. It is a filter built into her very being. By creating a space, a silence, she is subconsciously asking the most vital question: is your world stable enough to withstand my absence? Her distance is a mirror held up to your soul. It is designed to reflect back the true state of your inner foundation. Does it crumble the moment her warmth is removed? Does your sense of self dissolve into the void she leaves behind? Or do you remain standing, solid and unmoved, secure in your own reality? Every panicked text, every anxious question you ask during this silence is a failed answer. You are showing her that your center of gravity is not within you, but is dangerously and unattractively placed within her. You have been operating like a small, frantic boat, chasing her ship across a chaotic ocean, believing you can somehow convince her to let you aboard. This is the source of your exhaustion. The truth is, you are not meant to be the boat. You are meant to be the lighthouse. A lighthouse does not chase. It does not plead. It does not change its signal based on the weather or the number of ships in the sea. It remains fixed to its foundation, powerful and unwavering, projecting its own light out into the darkness. Its purpose is not to pursue, but to be a constant, reliable point of stability. A ship navigating its own turbulent waters is not pursued by the lighthouse. It is naturally, instinctively drawn to the safety and certainty of its beam. Your task is not to chase her ship, but to become the lighthouse she subconsciously seeks in a storm. This is the essence of emotional gravity. She is not attracted to your list of accomplishments or your carefully constructed arguments for why you are a good guy. These are merely facts on a resume, and desire does not read resumes. Desire responds to gravity. This is the invisible, energetic pull created by a man who is so completely anchored in his own purpose that her approval is a pleasant addition, not a desperate necessity. The man who performs for her, who tries to impress her, feels hollow. His energy is scattered outward, seeking validation. But the man who is simply expressing the truth of his own being, living his own mission, his energy, radiates from a solid core. This presence feels like a force of nature, undeniable and real. He is not trying to fill a silence. He times the silence, and it is powerful. From her perspective, a man who needs her validation is a man with a deep internal void. Her subconscious mind perceives this immediately, and it terrifies her. She fears that if she gets too close, she will be pulled into that emptiness and become solely responsible for filling it. This is the ultimate burden, the silent demand that she become the source of his happiness, his confidence, his entire sense of self-worth. No woman on earth desires this role. It is a cage, not a partnership. She is instinctively searching for a man who is already whole, one whose overflowing cup can add to her life, not one who arrives with an empty cup for her to fill. Her retreat is a desperate flight from this perceived emotional responsibility, a move to protect her own spirit from being consumed by his need. You have been taught to believe that her interest is a fragile flame and that you must constantly fan it with effort to keep it alive. This is a profound misunderstanding of the nature of fire. Genuine, lasting attraction is not nurtured by the frantic winds of your effort. It can only grow in the still, open space of freedom. When you chase, you create pressure. When you try to convince, you create resistance. You are inadvertently destroying the very conditions required for her desire to bloom. The most powerful move is to let go. By not reacting to her distance, by allowing that space between you to simply exist, you communicate the most attractive message possible. You are free. You show her that she can move toward you or away from you, and your world will not collapse. This freedom is the sacred ground where true desire can finally take root. Think about the contrast. You have been trying to build a bridge to her with words, logic, and proof. But every word you speak from a place of neediness only dismantles the bridge further. The strongest connection is not built with what you say, but with the calm you embody in your silence. When you stop desperately trying to fill every pause, to explain your intentions, to justify your worth, your presence finally has a chance to speak for you. And it speaks a language she understands on a primal level. It says, I am here. I am solid. I am not intimidated by this space between us. My peace is not dependent on you. This silence is not an absence of sound. It is the presence of unshakable self-possession. It is the loudest, most compelling statement you can possibly make. When you finally internalize this truth, the entire dynamic inverts itself. The hunter becomes the mountain. You are no longer the one seeking entry into her reality. She becomes intensely curious about entering yours. Your lack of pursuit becomes the most powerful and intriguing invitation she has ever received. She begins to wonder, who is this man whose world does not stop turning when I am not in it? What is the source of his calm? She starts to feel an inexplicable pull toward your center of gravity, not because you reeled her in, but because your stillness created a force she cannot logically explain but cannot emotionally ignore. You cease to be the man asking the questions and become the answer she didn't realize she was searching for. This is the great secret. Attraction is never captured. It is only and ever received. So, the moment arrives, her energy shifts, the texts become shorter, the warmth recedes, and a quiet space begins to grow between you. The average man feels this space as a vacuum, a terrifying void that threatens to swallow his sense of worth. His immediate, panicked impulse is to fill it with words, with questions, with apologies for crimes he never committed. He scrambles to repair a bridge that isn't actually broken. But the centered man does something profoundly different. He sees the space, acknowledges it, and lets it be. He understands that her emotional weather is not his to control. He does not see her withdrawal as a reflection of his failure, but as a natural, rhythmic part of the dance. His first move is the most powerful one imaginable. He holds his ground, breathes, and does nothing at all, trusting that his own reality is strong enough to withstand a little silence. This stillness is not a strategy, it is a state of being. It is the silent declaration that his world does not grind to a halt when her attention is elsewhere. He does not send the follow-up text. He does not craft a clever story to post online, hoping she will see it. He simply continues to live. He invests his energy back into the things that give him purpose, his work, his passions, his own growth. From the outside, it looks like indifference, but it is the furthest thing from it. It is the deepest form of self-respect. He is communicating through his actions that his emotional well-being is generated from within, not extracted from her. This is the moment he stops being the performer auditioning for her approval and becomes the unmovable anchor of his own world. He finds a profound peace in this, a liberation from the exhausting cycle of seeking validation. He begins to understand the great backwards law of the human heart. The desperate attempt to grasp her attention is the very thing that pushes it away. You cannot capture a butterfly by chasing it with a net. Its frantic movements will always outpace you. But if you sit still, fully engaged in the beauty of your own garden, it may choose to land on your shoulder. He stops seeing her silence as a problem to be solved and starts seeing it as a space for her desire to breathe. His constant pressure was suffocating the very feeling he wanted to inspire. By leaning back, by creating that space, he gives her the one gift she truly needs to feel attraction, the freedom to choose him without feeling coerced. He is no longer trying to win an argument. He is simply becoming the quiet, undeniable truth she can return to. The old voices of insecurity will inevitably rise. The mind will whisper, what if she thinks I don't care? What if she moves on? This is the ego's final, desperate plea for control. The common man hears this voice and surrenders, sending the weak text that confirms all her fears. The centered man hears this voice, acknowledges it, and lets it pass like a cloud in the sky. He practices the art of non-resistance. He feels the pull of anxiety, but does not become it. He understands that true power is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act from a place of centeredness despite it. Every moment he chooses stillness over panicked reaction, he is forging his own character. He is proving to himself, before he ever proves it to her, that his internal foundation is made of rock, not sand. His energy, once directed outward in a desperate search for her, now flows inward and radiates. He becomes the lighthouse. He is not scanning the horizon for her ship. He is simply shining his light because that is his purpose. His conversations with friends are richer. His focus on his work is deeper. His presence in his own life becomes total. This creates a powerful, energetic signature. She, accustomed to the pressure of being pursued, feels the sudden absence of it. It creates a vacuum of curiosity. She begins to wonder not what he is doing to get her back, but who he is that he doesn't need to. His lack of neediness becomes the most compelling mystery, the most magnetic force. He is no longer a wave crashing against her shore. He is the moon, silently and effortlessly pulling her tide toward him. Ultimately, he arrives at a place of profound peace. The thought of her no longer brings a spike of anxiety or a pang of need. It is a calm, gentle warmth, an appreciation for who she is, completely detached from any outcome. He has successfully untangled his ego from her validation. He realizes that the ultimate goal was never to get the girl. The goal was to become the man for whom attraction is a natural, inevitable consequence of his own centered existence. He has won the internal war. And in that quiet victory, he creates an emotional gravity so powerful that she doesn't feel chased. She feels an inexplicable, undeniable desire to fall into his world. He is no longer seeking her reality. He has become a reality so compelling that she wants to be a part of it. And so the great inversion happens not in her mind, but in yours. You finally understand that the entire exhausting chase was never about her. It was a desperate flight from your own emptiness. Every calculated text, every rehearsed line, every moment of anxiety spent deciphering her silence was a symptom of a man disconnected from his own core. You were seeking in her the validation you refused to give yourself. The painful truth is that you were not trying to win her, you were trying to use her to prove you were worthy of being won. The moment this realization lands, the game dissolves. There is no opponent, there is no prize to be captured. There was only ever you, standing in your own way, believing the key to your own kingdom was hidden in someone else's pocket. The relief that washes over you in this moment is the first taste of true, unshakable freedom. Now you see the truth behind the paradox we started with. She pulls away not because she feels nothing, but because she feels too much of the wrong thing. She feels the immense weight of your uncentered world. She feels the subtle, unspoken demand that she become your emotional anchor in the storm of your own insecurity. Her distance was never a rejection of your character, but a biological recoil from the crushing responsibility of being your source of peace. She wasn't running from you. She was running from the void you were asking her to fill. When you finally stop chasing her and begin anchoring yourself, you give her the only thing she ever truly wanted, the space to feel her own desire, free from the pressure of managing yours. Your stability becomes the silent permission she needs to finally move toward you, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine magnetic pull. This is the ultimate state of being. It is not a strategy, it is a presence. You stop trying to attract and simply become attractive. You are no longer the salesman pleading for a sale, but the art gallery that people feel an inexplicable urge to enter and explore. Your power is no longer located in your words, but in the profound calm of your silence. You learn to wield your attention not as a spotlight you shine on her to get a reaction, but as a bonfire you build for yourself that warms everyone who chooses to come near. The desperate attempt to possess her attention is what guaranteed it would elude you. But when you become so engaged in your own world, so rooted in your own purpose, attraction ceases to be something you pursue. It becomes a natural consequence of your existence, flowing toward you as effortlessly as a river flows to the sea. The game ends the moment you realize you are not a player. You are the board itself. She doesn't want your explanation. She wants your stability. She doesn't need your proof. She needs your presence. This entire journey was never about learning how to get the girl. It was about becoming the man who no longer needs to. Your internal world becomes so solid, so complete, that her presence is a beautiful addition, not a desperate requirement. And in that state of profound self-possession, you become the safe harbor she was always subconsciously seeking. You become the lighthouse in her storm. And the light you shine is not for her, it is simply who you are. Look at her now through this new lens. Comment what you now see in her that you couldn't before.